Okay. Alright. Okay. Alright. Make sure everything is all looking good. Think. Turn that down just a little bit. See if that helps. Okay. So hello. Welcome to Thinkin Thursday. Kind of feel like I should come up with a better name for that, but the only thing I can think of that has TH at the beginning. So, what are we doing today? Well, we are going to go back over stick figure stuff, but with more detail and a lot better presented. And then we're going to go from there to the next step, which is what I call blocking, which is probably what a lot of people say. But I don't know, because I don't look into what other people say about stuff much. So, how are we going to start this? First, we're going to clean off my tablet, and then... Okay. So, one of the things that I mentioned last time was gesture drawings, and I need to make a bit of a correction on that, because what I was thinking of gesture drawings was actually a more developed version of it, but essentially a gesture drawing is a stick figure. Super quick, super easy. The whole point of a gesture, like gesture lines and stuff, is to essentially do what the stick figure is supposed to do. It's just more basic. We don't have all the different joints and the different circles and the different lines and stuff. We basically, it's almost like that, like the kind of stick figure we know of, where, you know, it's the circle and then line 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 and then line. It's kind of like that, except it's more natural, and we do a bit more with it. So, I'm going to show a couple things, or a couple, not a couple. I'm going to show a couple gesture drawings, like I'm going to do them, and then we're going to go over it a little bit. So, I'm going to use that same website that I did last week, when I was doing all those stick figures, because it's very handy. And just going to show you how easy it is to make these gestures. So, like over here, so basically we got something like this. Put the shoulders. Person is kind of holding themselves like this. And they got their arm out like that. And then the next one. They're laying down. Like one leg's like this, the other one's like this. Supporting themselves with their hand like that. And they got other arm going out like that. And then they got their head right here. I just got this set up for 30 seconds for each one. Legs like that. The person's got their head over a bit. Arm out like that. Arm down like that. A little bit more with the feet. So yeah, they're kind of doing that little like cutesy thing with the feet. This one's not showing the whole body. still. Basically, do that. Got the shoulders. One arm's kind of going like that, and then going over. The other one is over, going like that. And that's pretty much all we can see of that. And we got one here. Kind of in a fighting stance type thing going on here. So one arm's going across like that. Other one's going down like that and like that because they're holding a sword. Then put their head up like that. Kind of a side view on this one. Leg going down like this, a little bent. The one kind of back a little bit. Then I'm going like that. Then the last one. Person's kind of on their knees, curved like this, so we'll do this, and then arm out like that, arm out like this. There we go. So super messy, super quick, but this is essentially what making gesture lines is. Ugh. So, oh, suddenly gassy. So, we can kind of get an idea of what the character's doing, what's going on, get a little bit of motion and flow and all that stuff, because essentially what you're doing with a gesture drawing, or a stick figure for that matter, is you're getting a way you can say it is the essence of who the character is, what the character's doing, and all that. And there's a couple things that will help with that'll help if you keep them in mind when it comes to placement and the character looking more natural. So, do an example. We'll just do examples with each of these characters. So, let me change the color of my brush here. One thing to think about is the center of gravity of your character, because unless your character is in motion, if there's just standing, if the center of gravity of the character is off, it's going to look, the character's going to look off in the sense that they're going to look like they're going to fall over. So that needs to be significantly smaller. There we go. So, like with here, just start right there, go all the way down. It's pretty much like the center line of this character. Got feet on both ends, relatively speaking, balanced. They got feet on both sides. They're planted, and they don't really look like they're going to be falling over or anything like that. This one with them laying down, it's actually going to be more like about where the hip is, but because the hip most of the time is like the center point of the body anyway, and so then what's supporting this character is they're laying on their hip, and then they're also holding themselves up with their hand, so there's balance there. Laying down kind of gives you more leeway on balance since there's more support going on. Right here, You can see feet on both sides, characters kind of going in and out from the center point, all that. Can't really show it with this one, but like that would essentially be the center, the center point of the character, center line, and also just kind of helps with balance on composition of the piece, because with this one all we could really see was like here and like here of this character with the on the site. Can't show it because TOS. But yeah, you still get a bit of balance going on here, so at least they don't look like they're off kilter. This one, since it's more of an action thing, like there's motion, therefore it's helping with balance and stuff. But essentially, instead of actually being the head, right here is mostly like the center point of gravity of the character. But you can still see their feet are at a distance from each other to where the character has some balance. Kind of goes with actual fighting as well. This one, center of gravity is actually right here at the hip, and we can see that character's putting weight over here, but that weight's being supported with this leg, and then this one is helping support from behind. That's also the arms are sticking out, so there's weight going on there. So we got a bit of center balance going on here. Right here, like about there would be the center line, center point of gravity for the character. Knees are supporting up front, feet are supporting the back. Body is kind of putting a lot of weight back here, so that's why that with having the these multiple points of support helps with that. Arms sticking out, so but we still have some kind of balance going on. So, balance lines. Not something you really have to draw, but it's something that is good to practice to see if your character is balanced, essentially. Like casual standing, like if you're standing around and you're relaxed or something, typically you'll be like, you can even be like that. So you got this going on. But you can still see that center of gravity is basically with this foot, because that's what's basically supporting. So even if center of gravity is not between the feet, it's as long as the body is not off kilter. That's what you're basically determining with that. So, other thing that we need to consider whenever we're doing stuff like this is the action line, which essentially is like you can kind of think of it as the center of the character, not the balance center point or anything like that, but like the spine of the character. So that line, this line, that line, you just see kind of, a lot of times it's S's, it could be C's. It's just a curvy kind of line going on. Even with this one, like that. Action lines is basically kind of like the spine going from top to bottom of your character, shows the expression of the character a bit, shows the action. That's why it's called the action line. What kind of movement's going on? How's the character bending? Are they arching forward? Are they twisting to the side? Like all sorts of things. Again, you don't have to draw those in every time. I do it a lot of times because it helps me, but you don't have to. So those are things that are important with drawing your characters. Having an understanding of balance with the center of gravity of your character. And also the action line of the character that kind of shows the energy of it and all that. And so those are really important. And so going from there, let's just build on top of these, our stick figures. Now, we did a bunch of those last weekend, or last Thursday, I mean. And so this should be pretty easy. I'm gonna do it in green this time. Whoop. Might help if I press the right button. So, like with this one, you would make... Okay, let's go with a dark green. Circle, line there. Circle, line going like that. Circle. Or 2 circles here for the hips. Do like that. Just like how we did last Thursday. Can even do this just a better. Sometimes I don't do that because I kind of know what I'm doing with the shoulders, but there are plenty of other times where I'm like, oh, kind of need to do this. Can't figure out what these shoulders are doing. So you can see how going from gesture lines to stick figure, essentially it's more articulate. You get a better understanding of what the body looks like and everything. So that's all well and good. Going with this one. Just gonna make it bigger. And like I've mentioned before, these don't have to be perfect. Like, I can already tell I made this middle section way too long. But that's fine. Whatever. We can fix it later. Right now, we're just getting the idea of where different body parts are. too loosey-goosey. The one thing you can think of with the action line, like I've been saying, like the spine, you can think of this as the action line right there. Because like I said, it's the center of your character and the flow that they're going. And we will go over lessons on, like, things that I do to help me at least get generally close when it comes to doing proportions. But again, that's not important right now. What's important right now is getting our characters placed in our landscape. And trying to do it where they aren't just standing there, not even bending any limbs, except for like one where they raise one arm and they do like a peace sign or something. No, we want our characters to have life. We want our characters to be expressive. We want our characters to essentially have meaning with them. So yeah, like a pose like this, I would definitely want to put in the collarbone so I can better idea of where I'm putting the shoulders. See, this is the main reason why I like using these stick figures. Like, just able to get so many different details down that it's really simple, but actually is really great for later on things. Of which, one of those things we'll go over in a little bit. This kind of pose, I want to start with the ribs. Just because the arms here would get in the way of the head, and then that would just confuse me once I put in stuff. There's the head. As much. There's the head. Another thing I like to do whenever I'm drawing feet is that I like to make the toes a separate thing because, you know, they bend in different ways than the rest of the foot. Another easy kind of thing with just getting general shapes, general ideas of how things are going to look. So, you can see how having a bit of an understanding of balance, action, all this stuff, and then putting our stick figures into use with that stuff, that we have some, I would say, decently expressed little characters here. Now, let's see. I'm going to go with just a couple of these for future examples. This one. Cut that one out, and we'll do this action one as well. Put these in a folder because next thing we're going to do is the blocking and stuff. But we kind of need to go over something real quick when it comes to doing this. So blocking, what is that? Essentially, we're going to be turning our stick figure into a transformer. Essentially. What do I mean by that? Well, Transformers are, especially like the cartoon versions of them, are these giant blocky humanoid things. So we're going to make a blocky humanoid thing. But one thing we need to kind of go over super quick is a little something called perspective. And everybody knows what perspective is. It's the reason why if you're at the bottom of a building, or at the foot of a building rather, and you look up at try to see the roof, and say it's like a skyscraper, and that roof looks a lot smaller than the bottom of it because it's farther away. We all understand that stuff. But do we understand it enough to where we can draw that? So, a good exercise for doing stuff like that. It's super easy, and it's kind of like when we did our stick figure drawings last week. But what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put in a line. Have it go horizontal because it's a horizon line. I know it's confusing, but bear with me. And then with that, go back to this brush. I'll just do a point right there. And what is that point? That is our vanishing point. What is a vanishing point? It is a dot, a location, a pixel, whatever, that we essentially use to create that diminishing in size look that you get with the top of the building when you're standing at the foot of the building. So with doing this, basically what you're going to want to do, make a square. Does it have to be pretty? Nah. I know this one's gorgeous, but it doesn't have to be perfect like this. And then with each corner, we are going to just have a line go from that corner to our vanishing point. vanishing point, vanishing point, vanishing point. What does this do? This gives us a way to have go here, go here. Just go straight up and down. Then you can barely see it, but there's also going to be a point there, and have that go like that. And now we've got a cube. Awesome. Why do I need to know this? Well, do you want your character to look flat? I don't want my characters to look flat. I want them to look like they're actually coming out of the page. Or at least trying to. So, basically, if you're able to have something do what we call foreshortening, which is the box here. That's that whole effect that I was talking about. The box here, the square here, looks bigger than the square back here because, like, it would go over here and then it would go up here. That's foreshortening. Things look bigger when closer. We already knew of that, we just didn't know that there was a word for it or a term for it. So then, with that, pretty much just, you know, make some squares in random places. And you just put in those lines. I'm not even going to do this corner here because we can't see anything on that one. Then, there we go. Erase these lines. Now we got some decently perspective boxes with a crappy front. But it's not just squares and cubes that we can do this with. We can do this with triangles as well. So, how do we do that? Well, you could do a couple ways. One thing you could do is you could just make a line. Make a line. And then just go ahead and put in your little lines here. And then do that. You can just go straight up. Now we got a pyramid. You can also just, with some more practice and understanding, you can go ahead and do like that. Because a pyramid is essentially a square underneath a point. Like we'll make this a tall one. Here's the point. That. That. So when you get a better idea of like the perspective of the floor and stuff, you can make your square kind of laying down, and then you got your pyramid right there. What about a circle? Well, a circle, a little different when it comes to perspective. Like if we're just doing lines, there's a sphere. The way that you get a circle to be more of a 3D thing is you have to do shadowing and stuff like that. But we can still utilize a circle to make a 3D shape or form if we want to do something like cones. Because when we're going to be blocking, we're going to be mostly using squares or rectangles, circles, and cylinders. And sometimes cones, depending on what you're designing. So, what we're going to want to do is make an oval. Doesn't even have to be all that great. Apparently my oval got put in the microwave. But then there's also, like, there's different tricks and stuff when it comes to, like, doing the perfect oval based on perspective. It's not really important to go over it. You just need to have an understanding of an oval is going to be the base of either your cone or your cylinder, and it's going to be the top, the other end of your cylinder. Now the part where you need to understand is based on the perspective. Are we going to have it where seeing it go out like this? Or do we have it where it's going out like this? And that depends on where your vanishing point is. So this, we got our cylinder. Or we could just put a point there. We got our cone. Like, it's not too difficult. It's just something that you'll just need to practice to get a good understanding of that stuff. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, especially at this point. What are we doing? We're just getting stuff onto the canvas. But it can be a fun little exercise every now and then. Just make a horizon line, put a point wherever you want it, and then just make a bunch of shapes and utilize that vanishing point. And all we've been doing is just a single point or a single vanishing point. You can do a 2 vanishing points. You can do 3 vanishing points, and you get different effects with that, or different kind of angles with that. But for this purpose, just a single point's fine for the most part, because it's basically just helping us to understand perspective. And I will admit, perspective's not my strong suit. But that also means you don't have to be great at perspective to be able to actually make your stuff look good. So, we'll go back to these two. So what are we gonna do? Well, start with this one. So, when it comes to what kind of shapes should I use, what kind of forms should I use? Which, by the way, the difference between a shape and a form is a shape is a 2D thing, and a form is either a unconventional shape, like a blob, or it is a 3D shape. Just depends on like who you ask, mostly. So what should I use when making different parts of the body? Well, cylinders are pretty good for limbs or long parts of the character. So like right here, have a cylinder for the neck. And then kind of shape I like to do for the ribs is kind of like an apple getting a bite taken out of it. So that, but then it goes up like this, because your ribs go up into there. That's another reason why adding lines like this really helps, because that's where your sternum is, and that's kind of the same way as with having the head up here. You put this line, and then you can see where the character's facing. Same thing with the ribs. Don't really need that other line. We'll still put in these lines for our collarbones, and we're still going to use our circles for the joints, because they're very handy. Just helps with things making sense. And then utilizing the circle for the elbow. Depending on what the angle is, for me, I like to either, if say it's this arm was going like this, and it was kind of going out but going forward. And that's how where the foreshortening comes in. Because it's longer when it's going straight down, but when it's coming towards us, it looks shorter. Foreshorten. There you go. If we're doing like this, I want to go like that. Sometimes it helps to put another line like this to kind of keep that shape in mind as you're going along. But, yeah, so... But what if it's angled just like this? Well, we could. We don't necessarily need a cylinder for this angle. We could just put a line right here. We can just make a rectangle if we want. Or if we really want to, which oftentimes I will do, I'll actually have the rectangle go overlap over the circle. Sometimes I like to do this to kind of, again, help keep in mind what the shape of, or the form of this arm. And then, this also will help with anatomy and stuff. And it's one of the main reasons why I always like to use shapes and do blocking and stuff like that. Or do like a mixture of all sorts of things with that. Because one thing you need to keep in mind is that the forearm is one, not that far, not that close to the elbow. See, this is what I mean. Like, you don't have to be perfect right off the bat, because all we have to do is just do that. Or if you're doing traditional art, this is why you don't press the pencil down hard. You do it very lightly, so you can easily just erase that and move it up. Now this looks more correct. Is it perfect? Probably not. Does that matter? No. So we can just go do a square that is smaller at the other end. So not really a rectangle, but more like a quadrilateral, I believe is what it's called. Then we can just do the same thing with this arm. See, the stick figure, not that well proportioned, but we can always just make some little fixes as we go from step to step. Now for here, depending on how you want your character to be shaped, if we're just going to go with like proportionally correct. So the person that was in the reference of this one was a female. And so generally speaking, which means not everybody's like this. It's just that a good number of people are like this. But if we want to have them be like basically smaller waist, bigger hips. Generally speaking, not everybody is like that. But what we would do, and what I typically do, is either put some lines here to where I want the waist to kind of go, and then go out from there. Or another thing that I like to do is add another circle. And then what this circle does, kind of helps with shaping our character. If we keep following along with the sternum, do like that, And then you can just have like this. And then put on the Superman underwear. And then with hips, again, it's based on how you want to make the character. How I typically do it is I like to have my characters to have nice big hips, nice big thighs. Even my male characters tend to have that. So I'm just going to erase a hand here, because basically what we're going to do is that. Just going to be quick and dirty with it, because then we can just form it out. And such. Knees, just like with the arms, do that. Then we'll just keep doing with the feet, the weird wedge shapes or whatever. Yeah. Does it look great? Not really. But we can just adjust things as we go along. It's not important to get everything done perfectly, like I've always said, and I'm going to repeat this all the time, because whenever I was doing one-on-one lessons with especially a lot of kids, but it seems to be a beginner mentality a lot of times. I didn't really have this, but I mainly am obsessed with learning, so I was like, ooh, how do I do that? But I've found so many of my students would get upset if it's not perfect right off the bat. I'm like that with a lot of other things. Art wasn't so much that. Art was always a curiosity for me. So I guess that's what helped me out. But I understand that mentality of, oh, it's not right, therefore I should give up, or therefore it's trash. No, it's not trash. It's just not what we want at the end of it. So that's why I'm always going to be hounding on that, because you're going to make great stuff. You can make great stuff. You just need to learn the steps and experiment, which is something I tend to do with pretty much every single piece I've ever done. Has a little experiment in it. Just me being like, I wonder if I do this, how will it look? How does this look? What if I do it like this? Will that be faster? A lot of times it's not. A lot of times it's like, well, that was a waste of time. But you learn, and that's what's important. So, that I'm gonna just be real quick with this other one, because this has already been going for a fair bit. Line. And the ribs like that. Sometimes I like to kind of bend the collarbones to help me visualize like how they're curving, so I can have a better idea of where the shoulders are actually going to be. So like up here, shoulders kind of going forward, because when you reach forward, like it's not just your arm that goes forward, your shoulder kind of extends out as well. Again, that's why we do this, the collarbone thing here. Here's that example of the shape, the arm kind of going forward towards us. Another way you can kind of do with the midsection is you can kind of just go like this. I always like doing this little shape here. Helps me, again, a lot of these things helps me visualize the shape and form of later things that I'll be drawing. Because like just like the arms, the legs are just big old tubes. Super quick, very easy to do. Again, not perfect, but we're building. This is the process that works for me. Is the building process. There are people who can just right off the bat kind of draw what they're wanting to draw, and it comes out great. I kind of envy those people because that's not how my brain works. I have to put building blocks all along the way in order to get what I'm wanting to get out of it. This also gives you the chance to make mistakes and learn from them. Therefore, you don't make those mistakes later on. But another important thing, which I've actually been relearning with doing these lessons again, is that taking some time and just doing these basic things like the stick figures we did last week. That I haven't done that kind of exercise for a while, and for a while I mean years, to a point where I kind of forgot how handy it is to just make some stick figures to kind of remind you of the simple little steps that, yeah, you were probably doing in the back of your mind, but it wasn't in the forefront of your mind, and therefore it might not be as accurate as it should be, as proficient as it should be. And that's something that professionals do, is that they'll just go back and just do some basic warm-ups, basic studies and stuff, just to remind themselves of what they're basing their skills on. You always need to make sure your foundation's good, because if your foundation starts to crumble, the rest of the place is going to go down, and then you're not going to have fun. So yeah, that's essentially what the lesson for today is. Next week, we'll do the same thing we did last week. I'll do a bunch of stick figures, and then I'll put the shapes on top of them. And we'll try some different ways of doing the shapes and all that. But really just studies, I guess is the best way to put it. We'll do studies. Basically, we're going to be having study sessions of the previous lesson the following week. So hopefully this has been helpful. This has actually been pretty helpful for me with reminding me of stuff, like I said. So with that, I'd say we're good. On to the next thing. Gonna look up a couple things real quick. You know what? I think we're just going to end the stream here. I am extremely tired. Like, it's just... weather's been beating me supremely hard. And just been real busy this past week. So, and I'm going to be working with my dad on some stuff tonight. And I don't want to fall asleep while doing that. So I think I'm actually going to go lay down for a while. So yeah, next stream, Tuesday, Twitching Tuesdays. Probably will play more Timberborn. Not sure, it depends on how we're feeling. Possible stream on Saturday. But that also depends on how my health is. So if you don't see me on Saturday, you will see me on Tuesday. So with all that, I will see you guys next time.